27. As a reminder,
Turn your.
Is that me?
Turn your sound on.
Good.
test it.
Are you?
Is it?
This is the location.
There you go. Okay,
Testing.
different buttons, sorry, everybody.
As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded via Zoom and will be uploaded to the town's YouTube channel for publication, later viewing and administrative purposes. The chair understands that the following members may be participating remotely. And right now I have Erwin Silverstein as a possible remote. And everyone else is here. Rose Shiflett is not attending this evening. All votes will be conducted by roll call and recorded as such in the minutes. The first item for the agenda, and I just wanted to note too, that we are under pretty strict time constraints because we do need to convene the school building committee for Pollard committee at 7:40. That's what it's noticed for. So we'll go right into the first item on the agenda of the PUBC, which is the public comment section. And I believe Stephen Maxwell, you're here, you'd like to speak. Please, if you could keep your comments to maybe a minute, minute and a half at the most, and very pithy and to the point. Please.
Great.
Thank you.
And thank you. My name is Steve Maxwell. I live on Brookline Street at Mitchell School. I'm also a finance committee member. And I wanted to first thank the committee for all the shit we could do evaluating all these options and then managing all these things when they get done. My comment is on the Pollard option we're evaluating over coming weeks, days and weeks, specifically with respect to the evaluation criteria and the financial implications. The short version of this is that I believe the evaluation criteria that's been in place so far with respect to the color-coded scoring matrix is very difficult to use to make any real judgment of the merits of each of the options. The goals are really all treated the same. There's no priority weighting, many overlapping goals, many seem to cut in under the okay, under the $465 million school master plan version. And there's no financial measures impact in that study as well. And given that it's, they go from 130 to 260 to 314 million, I would think that the hopes are that the financial impact of that. So the short version is, given the financial impact on the town, I would request of the committee that respectfully that as you look at options to whittle down, that you include in that an option for a $200 million spend. That being, I think something you could do relatively easily from a feasibility perspective and the work you've already done. One would be looking at what would additional $70 million be added to the base repair plan? What additional benefits could you get from that? And then secondly, what sort of reconfiguration would you need to do to the 7-8 new build to take $60 million off of that budget? Obviously, there would be some trade-offs with that option relative to the $314 million option. But having said that, it would be an option that would be better than the base repair. It would free up $1 million of debt and potentially prevent the town from exceeding its debt cap, at least initially, the debt ratio initially, and reduce the near-term increase in taxes on the average home, which together with Pollard, with Mitchell, will reach about $2,800 12 years or so. So appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Any other comments from the public? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the approval of the minutes for the September 2nd, 2025 meeting, which have been distributed to the committee. The chair is not aware of any comments having been made with respect to the minutes as presented. So we will ask once again if the committee and members of the committee have any comments with respect to the minutes as distributed. hearing none, we'll take the minutes as approved and they will be filed accordingly with the committee. Thank you very much. We actually are about 2 minutes away from our SBC meeting, so we'll declare a brief pause in the proceedings while we regroup.
You wanna open up the presentation?
Yeah, do we have to start the SBC first before we do that, or
Yeah, we do. I think we do.
just to wait until?
Yeah. Is there anything we can take right now with a invoice or invoice?
The miscellaneous.
Under the miscellaneous items.
4 minutes, so,
Why don't we do the auditorium
all right,
from the bottom up with the PSS first?
yeah. Okay, very good. All right, we'll take we're gonna resume the meeting just for a couple of minutes while we wait for the official start of the SBC. So there are a couple of invoices, miscellaneous invoices we'd like to take care of. And the first is the for the auditorium upgrade. The first is a change order from U-Shot International, PSS number 6. That's the amount of $1,517.56 coming out of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second? The chair will make that motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. And that would be Stuart.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Roy. Erwin. And the chair votes aye on that. Ann?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I think, all right, very good. That is approved. The second item is an invoice from U-Shot International. That's for August 2024 printing and mailing services in the amount of, it's same now?
Same amount,
Yeah,
yes.
$1,517.56 coming out of the designer budget. Is there a second on that motion? Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion?
Would it coincidence not exactly the same, or is that a reason?
Yeah, yes, we had to increase their budget in order to pay the bill.
Good idea.
Yep.
Very good. All right, very good. There are no other comments. We'll come to a roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. All right, we've got about 2 minutes left. Anything else we can do?
We could do DPW
Okay.
and various here.
Very good.
The first is a PSS for NV5.
Very good. The chair will move that the committee approve the PSS from NV5 for the whole building air tightness testing in the amount of $20,750 even coming out of miscellaneous budget. And this is a DPW project. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, George. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. And finally, under DPW project, we have the Weston and Sampson invoice for August 2024 services in the amount of $158,430.68 coming out of the designer budget. The chair will so move. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. All right, with that, I know the agenda says that we're going to suspend the PBC meeting. We've gotten a further clarification from the town council that we do not have to suspend the meeting with PBC. Meeting is running concurrently with the SBC meeting, which I'm calling to order now. As a reminder, the operating procedures that we've adopted with respect to the PBC meeting will continue in connection with the SBC meeting. I would also note that the following members of the are members of the SBC These are the following members. First, all the PPBC members, plus Tamitha Bibo, Elisa Scatry, and also John Connolly from the Finance Committee, Mary DeLong, Dan Gutekunst, and Hank Half. The last four are not voting members. And John, if you would like to, you're at the table, great. Okay, so we're very good. So I think we're all set to go. So with that, take it away.
Great, thanks.
We sent out a presentation, which we'll run through now. The superintendent and the town manager have identified these four key decisions that need to be made during the PSR process. During TDP, there were 7 options that were studied. Those options need to be refined down to one preferred option. And so the first of those 4, deciding between DeFazio and the existing Pollard site, that's one very important decision and perhaps the first decision. Then we also need to make a decision between the ad reno option or options and the new construction option. Of course, new construction, there are a couple different locations which you've all seen. We'll reiterate those as we go through this. Grade configuration, either 6th through 8th or 7th and 8th. Now, that is not solely a decision on the education program. The school committee has already supported and recommended that it be a 6th through 8th school, but we do have to follow through on the 7th and 8th grade options because that's being demanded of us by the MSBA. And there are consequences that were articulated in the school master plan. We'll reiterate tonight. If the 7th and 8th grade option is selected, which is less expensive, it has an extended time frame and in the overall plan ends up costing more. And then finally, the auditorium, the number of seats, if it's new or if it's the ad reno, then the renovation of that space. So those are 4 key decisions that need to be made during the PSR process. We'll schedule. We're trying to merge multiple schedules with the HMFH work plan, which we distributed, and then another schedule that was distributed to all the chairs that was put together as a summary by the town manager. And in that, in this schedule that's up on the screen, we've already had the meeting on 9/2, which was when the school committee voted the ed plan approval and the school building committee voted to submit the PDP to the MSBA. Tonight, we're going to go through, we won't vote on any of these key decisions, but try to articulate the advantages and challenges with each of these decisions. The town manager and select board are also asking for a supplemental meeting on the 25th, which would be a summit, and it would be a summit that would include this committee, the full school committee, the full select board, finance committee,
conservation and
planning,
You might want to put in Park and Rec. That's-
And-
and Park and Rec. And that is proposed to be at the Broadmeadow School starting at 6:30. And each of the chairs was notified of that, and we'll have to go around the table here and confirm who's available to attend that meeting. The intent during that meeting is perhaps to tackle these four decisions and maybe make a recommendation relative to site options. And then going into, there are also community engagement meetings that have occurred. And there'll be additional ones during the month of October. Open house on the 4th of October. Chairs meeting on the 3rd of October. And then there are two school building PBBC meetings in October, the 6th and the 20th. And we know we need to allow HMFH some time to study the options that we're focusing on. So we may not bring them into every single one of those meetings in October. And I should also mention on the 25th, if it's decided to delete one of the, well, really, we are required to do at least 5 options carried forward into PSR. Those are all the options that are on the Pollard site. The 2 options that are on DeFazio are optional. And if through that group discussion, it's decided to drop the DeFazio as an option, then there'd be a supplemental recommendation from this committee to do so back to the MSBA, so that the design team would not carry those forward. We'll get into the ramifications of that and what the hurdles are in order to keep it on the table. The October meetings, there would be, as listed here, the 6th and the 20th for this committee. Chairs meeting on the 3rd, community engagement. So that is also going to be an opportunity to give tours of the Pollard building. If you haven't been through the Pollard building recently, we would encourage you to come. Then in November, there's an additional community engagement meeting on November 6th. And on the 15th, there again be open tours. And then Dan is recommending that there'd be another public hearing on the 17th. Now that coincides with the PBBC meeting, and we're still working out the logistics of that, whether this would be again an all committee meeting. And that those are going to be or whether it be on the 24th, which would be the board summit. And the draft PSR report would be available toward the end. Some of these times we have to look at more closely.
Hey, just one question. October 20th is a special town meeting. So I'm not quite sure how we can have.
The PBBC meets on the 21st, actually.
Ah.
That was a change.
Thank you, Jim. As you can tell, we're still working through these schedules, trying to merge them all. And the intent is to arrive at December 15th for this committee to be able to submit the PSR to the MSBA. And the vote on the 8th of December would have reviewed all of that with the draft report available at the end of November. So yes, we will continue to try to merge these, but there are quite a few additional meetings and additional opportunities for public comment during that process. It was asked at the last meeting to reflect back, if we go to the next slide, to reflect back on the transition that we went through on the Sunita Williams project between PDP, the preliminary design program, and the PSR. And these next couple slides show you graphic images. At the end of PDP, the site on Central Avenue had been identified, and these were 4 variations that the designer went through, exploring how the building might fit on the site and what the complications were. Coming out of this, a preferred site was identified during PSR, which was roughly the building that's there today. But it also identified the need for the acquisition of one additional piece of property, which is in the lower right-hand corner. And that house was purchased, and that enabled the drive-through for the buses, and the drop-off lane for the buses, and isolating that bus drop-off from the rest of the parking at the school. The next slide shows some of the floor plan layouts, and these did get modified as we moved into schematic design, but the general layout is very consistent with the final design, where the academic wing is on the right-hand side and the administrative wing is on the left-hand side. The administrative wing is 1 story, but the gymnasium is a 2-story space. So as you enter into the building, you overlook that. And then the media center is sandwiched right in the middle, and the academic wing can be shut down at night when there are events that are occurring in the public area. I think that some of those principles are similar to what we're looking at for the Pollard program. So are there any questions about that example? I didn't include the multiple other sites that were investigated, including at least 6 variations of trying to squeeze the new school in at the existing hillside site, and the complications of additional land purchases necessary there. And there were at least 2, if not 3 variations that were investigated at DeFazio, which one was directly on the other side of, which was at that time still under the jurisdiction of the school committee. And then another variation that was on the parking lot area at DeFazio. Once the town identified the ability to purchase the site on Central Avenue, that became the preferred location. All right.
Any, just for reference purposes, what was the time frame to when the PSP went in on Sunita Williams and when the PSR went in?
Almost exactly the same as what we're doing now, but a decade prior.
No, I mean, so 3 months.
3 months, yeah. Okay. Next slide, so the just it was eerie when I was preparing the documents, the exact same date was there, except the year had changed.
And looking back, it seemed like it was.
Come on, Haley. Use your butt. Was that me? Sorry.
Even though we did it in the same amount of time, I think it seemed like an easier decision.
That's why I asked the question. That's why I think our decision here is much more difficult. If it took us 3 months to do that decision, where you're basically on, you have the site.
So we had
selected
some
for all
issues connecting the site back away from, through the site connecting to the next street, so things like that. So there are issues there. There were some issues on this side of it. There was some land issues, you know, with some wetlands. But the decision is really not as complicated as this one. So you know, it's some time, I think it's a lot more work that's gonna be required to do this thing than this, that.
That's my expectation as well.
Okay,
That's my expectation as well.
well. Unfortunately, but
So, during the school master plan, the recommendation from the school committee was that this option C1A was the most rapid solution to both Pollard and to Mitchell. And at that time, this was also identified as the least expensive, although the total cost, which is shown here, also does not include any MSBA reimbursements, but the assumption was that the Pollard project would be first and it would be reimbursed by the MSBA, and potentially Mitchell would also be an MSBA project, but from past history, we might have to wait a decade to get accepted into that. But what was critical here, and what I'll show in later slides, is that the 6th through 8th option at Pollard was the preferred option, because it enabled the freeing up of the High Rock School to act as the interim accommodation for Mitchell students while Mitchell is being reconstructed. This sequence also enabled the town to decide whether an increase in enrollment would precipitate a 4-section school. And the Sunita Williams is a 4-section school, for example, whereas Elliott is a 3-section school. Next slide. Jump to you.
Yeah. Any questions so far before we get to the key decisions that we need? There's one. Well, all right. So, all right. So as we said at the onset of this meeting, there's a key decision about the site that needs to be distinguished and determined. So here we are looking at, there's really 3 different options, 2 at Pollard and 1 at DeFazio. So there's the site option 1, which is Pollard at Harris. So that would be a base repair. So at the existing along Harris Ave location. And that would be, as I said, a base repair, which would be a 7th, 8th grade. Or an add reno towards taking what's there existing and reworking what's there. So that's site option 1. Site option 2 is behind the existing Pollard building at Harris Ave. And that could be a new construction, either 6th through 8 or 7th through 8. And the last option is at DeFazio at Dedham, and that could either be new construction, that will be new construction regardless. And that would be 6th through 8 or 7th and 8th. So that's what's in front of us right now. So the Pollard site option would allow, if we were to do new construction, the new school would be located behind the existing Pollard. The existing school would stay in place and occupied, it would be an occupied construction. And we would build between the tracks basically and the existing building and construct a new building that way. At this, we're only talking about site option. We're not talking about grade configuration at this point. And then we would use part of DeFazio to have lay down space for the contractor because there's no leftover space on the site to do any sort of lay down for the contractor. It's going to be a crowded site. The kids will be kept safe. They will be fenced off. There will be no crossover between the contractors and the students or the staff. So looking at the advantages of this, we have new construction, which is great. To have a school that will meet the educational program. Less impact to learning because you're not doing the addition renovation scenario where you're moving kids over different areas, lots of transitions for the kids while the construction's happening. Another advantage to building on the site is the lower elevation. So from Harris Ave to the back of the site, there's about a 30-foot delta of elevation. So from Harris Ave, it will appear to be a lower building, similar to what's happening right now at Sunita, where it looks like a lower building, but it's a taller building from behind. New fields.
But what would it be from Dedham Avenue and those roads over there? It would be 4 stories. From there, right?
Well,
No,
Yeah.
City of Williams, there's
Behind
no
the-
nine City of Williams, here there's people, right, here there's people next to Pollard. At like where the houses are at Dedham Avenue. And so there, it's not 2 stories from there, it's just from Harris Ave.
Sure.
They're up on,
Well, they're-
they're up on the hill. Joe, they wouldn't see those stories.
Yeah.
track.
Yeah, but the folks on Dedham Ave,
Folks
it
on
would be
Dedham
4
Ave,
stories to the
Well-
residents on Dedham Ave.
No, it would not, because there's again, at least a 20 to 25 foot grade difference east and west as well. So the existing, yes, the houses there will see more of the new building. But they probably would not see the lowest floor. And there are 1 or 2 abutters that'll be able to see the full building.
Isn't that all screened though by the trees on Delano?
Well, there are existing trees that back up on both sides, but in this diagram, we're cutting into the hillside on the east side, but not as much, cutting into the hillside on the west side, on the left side, but not as much on the right side. And the dashed line that goes inside the property line, that's a required 25-foot buffer that we need to respect all the way around. If trees were taken down, then the project would pay for replanting of that buffer.
But John was asking about from Dedham Ave, and from Dedham Ave, you really have trees, fields, train tracks, and then a school off in the distance.
Right. And the houses that are on Dedham Avenue are down, they are lower, but there are trees behind them, existing trees behind them that block. And the ones at the lower end of Coulter Park would have a good view of the school.
Right, that's my point, I mean, I don't want to go road by road, but City of Williams, there's nothing behind it, so here, you just can't say Harris Avenue, you have to do all 4 squares, it's a different thing to look at than City of Williams is, so that's all.
Understand that. Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
Okay.
The borders are more occupied than at Sunita.
But I'm not sure I agree with that, because Sunita Williams is wide open. So the whole street sees Sunita Williams.
They don't see the
This-
mass.
They
don't see
see,
the same
yeah,
mass.
you
They don't
across
see
the
the same
street, you
mass.
see the whole mass.
No,
Yeah.
not from the whole point.
From
of
Central
this
Ave,
thing
you can
is-
see the whole building.
What's that?
From Central Ave, I'm talking about Sunita Williams.
But,
The whole Central Ave can see the whole building.
but
It's
it
wide
drops-
open.
It drops
But
down.
this is tucked in the back, so it's really only the side that might see it. And from Dedham Avenue, you might see the top floor, but I don't think it's the same, but I understand that you gotta consider.
In the
views.
process, I think one of the things you gotta do is go with a camera, take some
Yeah,
pictures.
sure.
See what people
Yeah.
actually do see in both situations.
I think this will be tucked in more.
I think that's the least of your worries in that.
Yeah.
Your student safety, the noise for all the neighbors, the impact on that tight site,
Like.
the height of the building are all the downsides of this option.
Is that something that can be modeled? So that we can actually see what each elevation would look like from a different location?
Yeah, we have a few different tools that we'll bring, including possibly physical modeling, 3D modeling, and I think site sections with the sight lines drawn on them will be effective.
Right.
And so. Some more advantages for the site, the direct connection to DeFazio through the tunnel underneath the train tracks, because right now where the students are, they're further away, so they can have more direct in connection to the tunnel, through the tunnel, to the fields, which could be used for PE. And step back from here, as we talked about. So some challenges, there is the internal site access, there's pressures on the neighborhood streets over there. Of course, the proximity to the train tracks, be it sound going by, and just having that noise could have an impact, which will need a consideration. There's ways around it along the tracks. There's suspected high groundwater in that area because it is down below. If there's some wetlands that we need to consider. A smaller footprint, because it is an occupied site, would be required to avoid phasing the construction. So basically, the new construction would be built and then the existing building would be taken down. And because of that, there's going to be a challenge how to get the geothermal well field into the site, because it's a fully occupied site. Not impossible, insurmountable, but it'll be a challenge. The topography makes the site circulation challenging. And again, these are all challenges, nothing is insurmountable. And also just the mature trees and the green space that exists could be up for debate. All right. And then we were in conversations with town council about the zoning bylaws that would be
Yeah,
required.
so
That's it.
I think that the 6 through 8 at Pollard new construction will require several zoning bylaw changes. It would impact, we would need to increase the floor area ratio, also known as FAR, in order to from 0.3 to 0.4. The maximum lot coverage would also need to be increased. Although that is an existing non-conforming. But
Clarify that for a second, 15% to 16% means,
means that the footprint of the building compared to the overall square footage of the site.
so we would be. So we would consume 16% of the lot size
With,
rather
buil-
than
with,
15, okay.
with
I just wanna
building
make sure I got
footprint.
that.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
whereas FAR calculates the entire square
Right,
footage within
right.
the building
Right,
and compares that to the total square
right,
footage.
lot
So,
coverage, that, thanks.
in this design, it would also need to be 4 stories. And that at 15-foot floor to floor would also require a 60-foot height. And what's currently written in the bylaw, which we modified for Sunita, was 3 stories and 45 feet. The 6 through 8 ad reno, at least as currently laid out, would stick within that 3-story height limit. But it would still need an increase in the floor area ratio and the maximum lot coverage.
So again, here, I just need a little help. Why would a new building only take 1% more of the lot coverage versus the ad reno?
4 stories.
4 stories versus,
Shrinking the width footprint, all right, thank you, thank you.
and then parking, there currently is no criteria for a middle school. And what we've been discussing in prior meetings is taking the total staff count and multiplying it by 1.2, which is a number that was recommended by HMFH. And seems reasonable. That would allow for sufficient visitors, and the staff does include all of the special ed teachers. as well as administrators, teachers, so on and so forth. And then the proposed 750-seat theater, according to the zoning bylaw, would require 250 cars, but we'd need a waiver so that they're not additive, they'd be used at different times. And so the zoning bylaw change, if we were to proceed with Pollard, actually on either one of these, the recommendation was if there might need to be a special town meeting in January to approve those zoning bylaw changes. And that would be focused just on that one issue. And the reason for doing that would be so that that once passed could be submitted to the MSBA as a supplemental information for the PSR, easing their vote to approve the project moving forward. Any questions there? Okay, next slide.
All right, the other site under consideration is the DeFazio site. And that would put a new school at DeFazio. Pollard would remain occupied until the students could move into the new DeFazio school. And then the existing building would be demolished and turned into playfields, replacing in kind what was taken away at the DeFazio, at the existing DeFazio school location. So similarly, we're run through the advantages and challenges with this. So because they're two separate sites where the occupied students will be versus the new construction, it's least disruptive to teaching and learning. There is also the proximity to the nature trail and the athletic field for the students at DeFazio. If they were located there, they would have immediate direct access to all the play fields and all the reservoir that's right there too. It would allow this athletic complex to be more accessible to the middle schoolers. Minimal disruption to the residential butters. So similar to the comment about how no one is behind Sunita Williams, likewise, there's no one behind this building, potentially. The topography is relatively flat, allowing more sprawling, less restrictions that way. Also, a geothermal well could be placed in close proximity to the school because there is plenty of land to do this. And then also, again, the building could be used to supplement the fields that are already existing. So gyms, bathrooms, inclement weather, they can use the building as a resource. Now, the challenges that go with this are, it is just going to be disruptive to the users of the park and rec fields, without a doubt. We've been saying short-term pain, long-term gain, as far as creating new fields at the existing Pollard site. Increases traffic load on Dedham Ave. We realize that's just a one-way each way road. So making sure that we're going to be doing a traffic study to understand the impacts that a school would have on the DeFazio site. There's a lot going on with the DPW yard in close proximity as well. So there's trucks, and again, we would keep safety in mind at the forefront of the design. The buildable area is restricted by wetlands, so it really limits the available land on DeFazio that can be where a building can be put. And then, of course, the consensus from Parks and Rec, making sure that we're respecting their jurisdictional land in the process. And next, Hank will talk about the Article 97 that would be required, as well as a MIPA review is going to be triggered if we were to build on this land. It may also, depending, require bylaw changes to address height. It depends if it is a 4-story building, the site would also be applicable. If it became a 4-story, we would need the same zoning bylaw change. And there's the high groundwater on the site. And then also just the short-term disruption that taking over fields would cause for operations to Parks and Rec. Then we have the jurisdictional one.
So what we would need to do in order to go through that jurisdictional land swap would be similar to what happened back in 2016. But the first would be the warrant articles. In that case, there were 6 warrant articles and there was numerous transfers, jurisdictional transfers that occurred. And at that time, it placed the parking lot at DeFazio and the DPW yard into the jurisdictional control of the school committee. And the also at that time, the land purchase on Central Avenue was then transferred to a jurisdictional control of the school committee. And I won't go through the history on all the other transfers, but something similar would have to occur here. There would need to be an agreement between the select board, the school committee, and Park and Rec Commission. And then there would need to be a 2/3 vote at town meeting to enact that jurisdictional transfer. The legislative approval for Article 97 also requires a 2/3 vote in both houses. And the MIPA environmental review would be triggered by that Article 97. And there's an unknown as to how long that would take. So the risks are, first, whether there is consensus within those 3 key committees to enact that jurisdictional transfer. And that, I think, will be one of the main topics of the meeting on the 25th. But this committee certainly needs to understand that and the ramifications. Also, the time frame on doing that and the time frame on getting the Article 97 approved through the legislature. I think that the legislature would be looking to the town and consensus within the town in order to approve that jurisdictional land swap through Article 97. The MIPA review could take 4 months. Or
We've heard anywhere from a few months to 18 months, but I don't think it would take that long on the longer end.
On the longer end. So at that, until that MIPA approval comes through, the town is at risk for the project. So moving into the MSBA would not sign the project scope and budget agreement until that MIPA is approved, which means that the town would need to appropriate the funds to move into design development and construction documents without the expectation of getting further reimbursement beyond this feasibility stage until that MIPA review comes through. And it also is the risk that if it doesn't come through, then there's a restart in terms of study on an alternate site other than DeFazio. So there are risks that are on both sites, but the zoning bylaw risks are really coming to consensus within the town and getting zoning approval through town meeting. Whereas the risks associated with jurisdictional transfer at DeFazio are not only within the town, but extend to legislature and to Environmental Protection Agency. State, are there questions about those risks and those 2 sites?
Thanks. Still one question on the, if under the DeFazio option, if once the Pollard building is taken down and the fields are restored, would that land then be transferred to the Park and Recreation Commission?
That would likely be the requirement within the jurisdictional transfer. So that land would then be transferred over to the Park and Rec Commission.
The second question, Mary, you mentioned the possibility of a four-story building at the base here. Could you, I thought it would be three, but maybe would it be, would the footprint be shrunk accordingly if it were going 4 stories, or what would, tell me?
Right, as it's configured, it's a 3-story building, which includes the jurisdictional land
Okay,
transfer.
yeah,
Because we're taking a portion, the park and rec, to do that.
right.
It would be a 4-story building if we tried to keep it solely within the school committee boundaries.
Thank you. Okay.
And I think what's also complicated is that some of the field space would likely need to be, because the school would be taking over the parking lot, then DeFazio would need to construct, there would need to be new parking constructed to serve the DeFazio, and potentially the peak demand for parking would exceed that 260 car number. So citing the building at DeFazio, while it provides perhaps the largest and greatest opportunity for the school, it also creates a series of constraints and risks.
Do you already have someone on board for environmental permitting?
Yes. Sammy Otis is our civil engineer, and they're working with East West for permitting. It's a sub-consultant to them.
What is school building on DeFazio required that we solve the problems of drainage on the parking lot area for DeFazio? There are issues associated with that, of course. And if you build there, are you gonna have to include that in the cost of this project? We're gonna have to solve those problems as a part of a new school.
Yes, so the new site design would meet all the requirements for stormwater and drainage, including where the footprint of the building goes, and if that requires, under drains and things like that.
Is that being carried as a approximate cost? That's an expensive, for that site, that's an expensive proposition. That's part of the reason it
Yeah,
hasn't been done yet.
the estimators were told that groundwater is a concern. So we believe that they, carried some weight to that without putting a kind of exact.
So I just suggest they look at that,
Yeah,
because there are numbers that I don't even know we've looked at in the past, to approximate numbers. If we were to do something at that site, that would require us to do work on the DeFazio site.
Yeah.
Parking lot, et cetera, to get rid of stormwater. And it was pretty sophisticated compared to just a swale.
yeah. And the same goes for the new construction at Pollard site. That's similar issues, and we've already been talking, do we need a storage tank, something like that.
So. I just want to make sure that's included when you look at DeFazio, because that's it's a much bigger issue there than I think it would be on the Pollard site.
The difficulty of the Pollard side is, the water's coming down essentially into a bowl with the train tracks on one side. And so it limits how you can, get the water out. So you're having to deal with it right on site.
Right.
It's capturing.
Okay, next.
So another consideration that we're gonna have to consider is the addition renovation versus new construction. So as I said, initially, if we're to stay on the site that's closest to Harris Ave where the existing building is, that would be an addition renovation option. So what this does, though, is it adds additional construction time to the project because we're shifting the kids around. The kids, it would be an occupied building, summer slammers, it would just increase the length of time that the building is under construction, therefore increase the cost as well. So that's a consideration for the addition renovations.
And that's why that option ended up being
Correct.
the most
Not as
expensive.
significant.
It's, yeah. Right. So advantages, you could save the existing auditorium and the two gymnasiums, so.
Can you just change that to use the I'm
Mm.
not sure save is the right.
Yeah.
Reuse.
We could potentially have a three-story building which would meet the current zoning for the height. We would have to deal with the other FAR situations, but we would, no, or we would have the three,
We still have
we still have
increased
FAR.
FAR and
Yeah,
lot coverage.
yeah, so it doesn't avoid all of our zoning issues, only the height limitation.
Right.
Okay. We're the same distance from the MBTA tracks. So that's a plus, and we would have an opportunity for the, putting the geo field in the field area, the geo wells in the field area that's would theoretically be open for that opportunity. Challenges, construction disruption is, the students would be in the building, so there would be shifting around of students and just a lot of summer slammers, a longer schedule, multiple moves for the students. It's never, if anyone's ever renovated their house, they know living in construction is not an enjoyable experience. Higher cost and potential hidden fees when you're dealing with anything existing, older buildings can become a can of worms almost. It would require the zoning change for the FAR and the site coverage and the parking. It limits the design opportunities because you're working with essentially what's there and just constrains the existing facility. Shorter life extension because you're starting with something that's already 60+ years old. And it would challenge the energy efficiency limits because it is an existing building that we're working with. So the advantages of new construction, shorter timeline, less cost than an addition renovation option, as we just mentioned. Modern design for flexibility, so it really is an open slate and open canvas for design opportunity. We could meet simply the energy efficiency and sustainability goals that the town has. Longer building life, because it's born on this decade. And gives us the opportunity for a 50+ year building. Minimal disruption, because the building could, the existing pollard could remain occupied while a new construction option is happening. And then there's the potential for optimizing the site to allow for better circulation, site circulation. The challenges would be, as we already discussed, that pollard would require the zoning change. And Defazio would require jurisdictional land transfer in the LIPA approval. So any site related questions before we get into grade configuration?
Has anyone talked to the parties that there's any opportunity to violate these zoning, change these zoning items? Have you had any preliminary discussions, finding out, for example?
We have had preliminary discussion with the chair during the chair's meeting and also with the planning director and town council. And town council and I were drafting up what those bylaw changes might need to be, but we have not had a public hearing yet with the planning board.
Are there any issues they brought up that might be showstoppers for us?
Yes, we could use the Dover amendment.
Not been used in.
I was told that would be a showstopper, George.
I don't think anyone has a plan to do that, but. Are there any other things that they feel might be a problem in terms of being, obviously, we can't do this if we can't change those zoning bylaws.
Right. I think that the unique character of this site and of the need. Um, this kind of change did occur with Sunita Williams.
To a lesser effect.
Yeah. And it could be that the requirement is that the setback from the primary frontage is greater, increased, or, for instance, could be doubled, or even tripled, if that were the primary concern. But yes, we would need to make those changes in order to, build 6 through 8 at Pollard, unless you get extremely creative and vary portions of the building. I should point out that there are portions of the high school that are 5 stories. And that is technically only a 3-story building because you measure the height by taking the height at different areas all the way around the building. So it becomes a mathematical exercise,
Right.
but there still are 5 stories in some sections of that building.
We went through that. It's a 3-story building.
So,
7, 8. Yeah.
so 7, 8, yes, I need to move on, okay. Grade configuration is the next question, and if we leave the school committee recommendation for 6 through 8 on the table for a moment, there are master plan implications of choosing 7 through 8. And that's what I want to review here. So the advantage, of course, doing a 7 through 8 is that it's a lower cost. It's a lower initial cost. And in this diagram that's shown on the screen now, which just has the 7th and 8th grade, a story is taken off and it's a 3-story building. So we don't need to get that height waiver. The challenges are that the 7th through 8th grade does not meet the current education program that was identified by the school committee. There are inefficiencies and redundancy in operating 2 middle schools, which they currently have. That means select teachers going back and forth between the 2 schools during the school day. I would say at least half, if not all of the 6th grade students today that go to High Rock are brought into High Rock from throughout the town. The walking population there is relatively minor, so the majority of the students from High Rock get bused to Pollard. There are 14 buses that stage at the front of the building, and it's used as a bus depot. They switch buses and then get on the bus that takes them back to their home. Maybe a third of those students stay at Pollard for after-school programs. And so there's that complication just in terms of who goes when, and then their late buses. But the front of Pollard today does function at the end of the school day as a bus depot. They have to double load the buses in order for the kids to make that transition. It does not achieve the middle school reunification. I've already discussed the busing issue. The ad reno option completes in 2032, which means that whereas the new construction would complete in 2030. But overall, this would incur a higher cost for the total master plan, because you then, after this, you have to go through and apply for the statement of interest to Mitchell. If accepted into the MSBA process, the first step would be to construct modular classrooms at DeFazio. Because you don't have High Rock to accommodate them. And then the Mitchell School students would move into the modular classrooms at DeFazio. The new Mitchell School would be constructed, and then depending on which option is selected for the High Rock addition renovation, That would then also relocate those students to DeFazio while that project is completed, and likely would not be completed until 2050. The next slide shows an image from the school master plan with one-story modular classrooms. The long 3 bars would accommodate the administration and the classrooms necessary to accommodate Mitchell and or the 6th grade. The last smaller bar was viewed as the cafeteria, which would also function as a gymnasium and could potentially be left over afterward, but it impacted and would require the relocation of the DPW yard in order to accommodate sufficient parking for that function. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, what's the extra same colored block over there?
That is at this time when this plan was done, the 6-bay garage hadn't been constructed. So that was just showing where the 6-bay garage was gonna go. Because when the 6-bay garage was constructed, it took out a whole bunch of parking that was then serving the DPW. And because this would serve as a elementary school for a portion of its life, the green area in front of the pavilion near the running track was the intended location of a playground serving the elementary school. Any questions? Next slide. These were a couple variations of the new Mitchell School. The one on the right would require the demolition of the existing building, construction of a new building. I should note that the beige areas on the left and on the beige areas on the left are the Mitchell Woods. And when we went through this study and looked at building the diagram on the right, which was a new elementary school in the playing field, which would require the demolition of the existing kindergarten modular classrooms. It was also noted that there was no space for laydown, construction laydown. And so there would have to be a reallocation of the Mitchell Woods and for laydown space and contractor parking in order to accommodate that, if we were to try to build the building without the construction of the modular classrooms at DeFazio. And then the next slide shows again 2 diagrams of alternate additions. Total 15,000 square foot or 10 classrooms at the High Rock School. And again, the one on the left-hand side would impact parking. So alternate parking would be required in order to construct on that site. That was not the preferred location. Whereas the one that's on the right-hand side shows the expansion of the classroom wing. It'd be 2 stories tall, reconfiguration of that entire wing. And that really is where you'd need to move those children out of the building in order to do that construction. And even once it is finished, then the 6th grade gymnasium and cafeteria would remain undersized because they're undersized. They're sized as elementary school size, not middle school size. And the 15 million was projected in 2020, so we'd have to escalate that out to start of construction on this to find out what the cost would be associated with that new time frame. Any questions on grade configuration? There's another variation I didn't run through in excruciating detail, which would be to build the new 7th and 8th grade at DeFazio and making Pollard into the temporary accommodation. But then we're faced with a 60-year-old building, and whether you tear in order to build at DeFazio, it would delay the transfer of the Pollard land to the Park and Rec Commission and would delay the construction of the playing fields that you saw in the prior scheme.
So with our financial perspective, that part I left, right, but why would it delay transfer of the property? We have. This maybe just.
It would delay the construction of the playing fields.
Okay, not the transfer, 'cause that's all happened beforehand.
Right.
I thought you were saying.
Yes, and similar to Hillside was transferred to the jurisdiction of the select board until the school committee no longer needed it. And it was used in that transition as temporary space for police and fire, and then for Emory Grover
So we
school
all agreed
admin.
what was gonna happen
Yeah.
prior to.
Right.
That point.
And now it's jointly used by the IT department, which serves both the town and the schools. Auditorium. Are we ready to move on to that?
So the last key consideration that needs to be incorporated into the decision needs to be incorporated into the PSR and the design is the auditorium. So this would, again, we're looking at advantages and challenges, so both sides of the coin of what this is going to do with the project. We've been carrying a 650 seat auditorium so far. 750 seat auditorium to date, so enough for 2 grade levels essentially is where that figure comes from. The advantages are that it would fulfill the middle school educational program, so this is incorporated into the ed program that was approved by the school committee. It would enrich the fine and performing arts programs for the upper grades, so 6 through 12, so even high school could use the auditorium space. It can accommodate, as I said, full grade with teachers, two full grades with teachers, one full grade.
2 full grades. would be
80,
808.
yeah, apologies, so one full grade. We provide the only theater with a loft in Needham, provides a venue for after school and high school practices and performances. And also could provide a venue for state competitions in chorus, band, orchestra, plays, musical performances. Provide an opportunity for large community meetings and performances, which doesn't currently exist in town. The challenge is construction costs are not covered by the MSBA, so this is not a reimbursable expense. The MSBA would only cover a gymatorium or cafetorium. And it would increase the construction footprint on the site, which are already very compact. So sorry for the misspeak of two classes, just one. Any questions about the auditorium?
The estimates that were done for the new construction with 750 square foot. If you pulled out the 750 seat auditorium for that, what was the ballpark? What was the cost of that? So we can just have a sense of from those. No, we're not saying that's what we're gonna do, but from those, if you pulled it out, what was the cost?
7 million.
Are you saying pull out an entire auditorium? So we know
I'm saying,
Or you're saying
in the-
750?
In the
down to
models,
500?
that we had, new construction with the
Mhm.
750s seat auditorium. Of the total number, how much of that was? the
Square footage or
auditorium?
dollars?
Was that
Square footage or dollars?
dollars?
Dollars, okay.
Or both, I mean, I guess in a sense,
Yeah.
both, because you did square footage to get to dollars, so both.
So I believe it was close to 7 million. Well,
Yeah, it's about 7 million, but it is a very high level. We
How
haven't.
many square feet approximately, and
It's 7,500 square feet, so the auditorium.
Does that include all the peripheral things?
Yes, all the dressing rooms, storage, technical spaces that are needed, the stage, of course.
But the layout would put it in adjacency to the choral room and some of the other rooms that are paid for within the MSBA program and can be used dually to function during performances.
Well, and
And-
it's also,
Sorry, go ahead.
it's also, it's built in as classroom space, so it's not like you could just say like, okay, we can take 750 square feet out.
No, I'm not saying, I'm not like, I want them in there,
Yeah,
but I'm trying to, sometimes people think of a theater, they think $50 million, some people think
Mhm.
$100 million. I think it was comforting to know it's 10 million or less, I think, so I was asking for that
Yeah.
purpose, not that I'm saying it should come out, I guess it was not a well-put question, but I was trying to get a sense of the cost of
Yeah.
a new
but
auditorium.
my point is you can't just say, okay, we could save $700 million. It would be less than that because you still would have to build then other classroom space for those students.
Yeah, that's not what I'm asking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably something on, it's in the $7 to $10 million range.
I'll just add that, Concord cut 450 seats from their 900 seat theater, it saved them $900,000. Last year.
Thank you.
Any other questions about auditorium? Which brings us back to the 4 key questions. We don't need to answer them today. But this is this is the pathway. Making these key decisions are important during the upcoming PSR. And I think that coming out of the meeting on the 25th, the question will be asked, is it appropriate to drop DeFazio as an option at this time? And that's a difficult question to answer. But those 2 options could be dropped if the decision is to do so, we would notify the MSBA, and that would enable, as you had mentioned, Stuart, enable the design team to focus on the 5 remaining options. I should also note that the base repair is going to carry forward, but I think we've made it clear that the base repair program does not meet the education program. It does not increase the size of any of the classrooms. It does not solve any of the and it just rebuilds modular classrooms, which only have a 20-year lifespan. So it's not recommended, and I'm not sure that the MSBA would reimburse the town for it because it does not meet the education program.
Thank you. Should we address the timelines?
Okay. Well, I think you have this. So the summit, board summit, I don't know if we can do a quick straw poll. Do people around the table have the ability to attend the meeting on the 25th?
Yes.
It may start as early as 6:30, which could be tough for
It's
you, I know,
painful, but
Mr. Chair.
we'll deal with that.
You're on the road. Could you zoom in? Maybe. No,
Wait,
I'm in Colorado. I'm in Colorado.
Breakouts. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be
okay,
Completely out of pocket.
okay.
But Hank, just to interrupt, there's gonna be breakouts stuff, and that's gonna be the other question I have. If we can get an answer, or at least start the process. How are they gonna run this meeting? I mean, this to me, I think the idea is great. So from the chairs meeting, this was brought up by Michael. But I think these are very tough things to do
Mhm.
effectively and not get just slow as molasses. Because at the end of the day, we know what the elephant in the room is. It's DeFazio. But I would ask that, I don't know if it's for you, Richard, or through you, but I think I'd like to make sure that there's a level of structure. And there's some leadership in there, because I don't know, I've been through 100 of these things, not here, but yeah. And they're not effective, they don't have good structure.
Good point, thank you.
Is there an ability to, I'm just talking out loud here,
Please.
to, why don't, you can, whatever term you wanna use, call it a workshop, call it a conference, call it a thinking session, where you get the site plans out, and Bob right here had the Google map, and where you can really look at these sites and kind of, and with the modeling that you're talking about, and be able to look at it from all the different sides to say, what actually would a school in DeFazio look like without it being built, but as best as we can sort of conceptualize it. Same thing with Fowler back in that back area. Again, not that it's built now, but can we conceptualize it in a modeling and other type of view? And have that, do that within this group and then share it with the other groups, because I think it's, to me, I mean, it's an incredibly hard decision, an incredibly expensive decision. I'm not quite sure we have enough information in 2 weeks to eliminate a site. Just because I think so much goes into eliminating a site or choosing a site, one way, whichever way you put it. And there's been great work done so far, but I don't think it's enough yet to get to a point where you're eliminating an option or advocating for an option. Because I think you need to do those things about the modeling and the topography and then actually have the sort of stakeholders look at it and say, what field would be affected or not affected and how would it be affected. And I just think that's an exercise that collectively should take place before anyone can make a decision.
But you're getting to the point, which I think is part of the structure. What are the critical decision factors? And I know there's the 4 decisions up there, but the first one's site, so let's take it down a step. It's like, is it visual? Is it traffic? Is it, I don't want my field because I love my field. I don't want to see the 4th story from my house. I don't know. I think we need to figure out what the inputs are to this decision, or maybe that's what this chunk that we have to do. We'll solve it here, but I think it really requires whoever's gonna lead this thing. I don't think we should be leading it, but if we need to, we can. The inputs, I think, are need to be solved like that.
Right.
Well, certainly the architect will
There you go.
assist with leading this process.
No, they're great, and they're the pros, and they knew this stuff, and this is what they do, and the work you've done so far has been great. I'm just fearful that we're rushing ourselves into an incredibly important and expensive decision for the sake of rushing, and I'd just like to make sure we've studied as much as we can possibly study and discuss as much as we can discuss before we start eliminating something or deciding that's what we're gonna do.
I'd just like to add to that, I agree, and we just saw what we were trying to describe, well, what do we see from this road, what do we see from that road in this room? When that gets into the bigger room, the more models, drawings, renderings, even massing to help people get around those, get their head around those decisions.
I just think that is a tremendous leap for the design team to get to that point.
Yeah.
That is a request that I can't even imagine happen at all. They're in bubble diagram phase, and we're asking them to do design work and 3-dimensionalize something so that people can say, is that what I'm gonna see from the back of my yard? I think that's a big leap.
That's not the leap I'm asking. for.
Okay, because that's what it
No,
sounds like.
no, it's not the leap.
Well, I said that.
Yeah, by any stretch of the imagination, but I think to eliminate a site, it has to be more than just a diagram on a piece of paper. And that's what I'm saying.
I guess the flip side question, any time that we add translates very clearly in a project of this size and in today's economic environment into dollars. And so what are the decision points that are worth incurring another $10 million? Like at some point, because that's really what you're talking about, so for a 6
Well,
month.
getting the right site is worth $10 million, at least in my view. And getting the right site is critical for that, and if that's I'm not agreeing that that's what it would cost, but I think that would be money well spent and make sure you have the right decision to do.
Well, I guess the question is only if you think that the other site is the wrong site. I think, you know, can we get to a point where we're like, sure, that might be the A site, but is this the B plus site? And is moving, is fighting for A over B plus worth $10 million? Is that what the community is asking from us as leaders in the decision-making process?
I, John, you've attended prior meetings and the Park and Rec Commission has made their opinions very clear.
But I didn't hear them saying that they were invited into a meeting and let's get the site plans out and let's talk about how they use their site. When are the critical times, how they do it, and I think that should occur. I think both for them to say no, that in an educated way, that should happen, and I think for this group to make sure the decision is appropriate, that should happen as well. And that's what I just think it's to say, all right, this is what it might look like in this site. And then we might say, you know what? The collective decision would be to no, but I think just from where I sit, I think it needs to be more than just showing this to them. I think you need to have them in and get the site plans out and go through, you know, some of the on the logistical way. And then saying, you know, you're gonna have these new site, you know, new fields over here or Pollard and you know, there's different things. I think it should be a discussion that at least I would think you'd want to have with them. And not saying this is what it's gonna be, but say, help us problem solve here, or help us get to a decision.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%, because their meeting where they were looking at plans without any direction or oversight or conversation was an unfortunate meeting.
I met with them again last week and had some of those conversations, you know, going through things like just because the little wheel is, you know, to the east or whatever direction that would be, you know, and the parking's on the other side. This is not design. This is, you know, that can be flipped. We've heard you, the next iteration will not look like that. And talked about, you know, the desire to have the open space and whatever, and my, the feedback in that meeting was that was not a conversation that they wanted to continue having, and my understanding from a message that I got about their meeting tonight is that they have again formally voted that they are unanimously no to release jurisdiction on the DeFazio site. I gave it a really good shot, I feel like. Both at the chair meeting and.
But you kind of feel, understand how they feel. I mean, I think that, you know, maybe, again, we can't go back and undo what was done, but to say, you know, can we invite you into a meeting and get the plans out and go through this? And then in the end of the day, I just think that, you know, that's what we all owe it to each other in whatever committee you're to do that. That's my.
I'm struggling with the unanimous no conversation. It feels like as a town, there's push and pull, there's give and take. We need a middle school. We need the fields. They're getting more fields in the end than they have now. There's got to be middle ground here. And so if that's what it takes, then I think it's a great thing to do. I'm really struggling with the unanimous no internally as a town.
Without community feedback.
I don't understand that.
I completely understand it. Knowing, speaking with them, hearing them at the meeting they did, we're at the letter they sent us. And how they think, in my opinion, they want to protect the fields.
Yeah, I think that's the case, and thinking about the role of this town meeting member.
Yeah,
And what would the town meeting have to say about that kind of approach? Some town meeting would be much more open to discussing swapping of lands.
Yeah.
If it's to the benefit of the entire town in the long term.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that in transit saying no, no matter what, is in the best interest. So I'm not sure that the town really feels
And
that.
support that.
All right.
That's what's my town meeting that.
Well,
We will talk to Dan Gudikantz. We'll have to discuss with you how we might manage that discussion. I know when we did the facilities master plan in 2014, there were 2 representatives from each of those committees, all of those committees. And there were multiple meetings. This is going to be more difficult. Definitely.
Is the hand raised?
Oh, Erwin, guys, go ahead, please.
So if the jurisdictional issue is key about considering the Fazio, and if Park and Rec is emphatic that they would not grant that kind of exchange, are we kind of knocking our heads against the wall with that option? Can anything force them to change that? If their option is that they are not going on any circumstances agree to the school being on the Fazio, is that in effect the end of that option?
Wouldn't have meeting be able to change.
Yeah,
A meeting could change it, but it would require a 2/3 vote.
Right.
And George, I think you recall the time when we studied Cricket Field.
Yep.
And 200 people showed up at a school committee meeting wearing green shirts saying save cricket. And ultimately, the town needs to come to
Yeah.
consensus and vote not only approval of a site and of a preferred option, but also fund the project. And if you have a major contingent within the town that is diametrically opposed to it, you risk failure at the vote, at the both town meeting appropriation and the subsequent election.
well, I think we have some direction now as to how the 25th would play out, and Hank, I'll leave it to you and the professionals to discuss how the particulars along with the school administration, and we'll hopefully have a structured meeting as Stuart notes that would hopefully enable people to make a more informed choice. Again, I'm not sure that we're at the point where we make a decision. I think as to John's point, there's a lot more that needs to be discussed, but at least if we can get the issues on the table anyway, to get people thinking about it, I think that would be a major step.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How do we define that?
Fine,
How
what?
do we define, I think it's important to tease out what we think the additional information really is, because you guys said something, I clarified, you said, and that's not what I meant. I think we should clarify what we do mean, because as we go through this list of things, I write down all the things that to me, as a person who put kids through public school and gave money to Field of Dreams and watched it get constructed and used it, and now looking at a different plan, I write down the 10 or 15 things that I think are important in making the decision. Like, and they're not much more than what I've already seen. So what I'm asking is, does it make sense to define what is missing in order to help people? Do you think it's physically sitting around a site plan and moving blocks around? Do you think it's
So I think.
like 3-dimensional visuals, like, cause maybe you can do that in SketchUp in some way to just do blocks of space? I mean, what?
So are 2 different things. I think at Paula, the visuals is much more important than at the Paula site than it is at the Phasio. But I think at the Phasio, I think part of it is, are there really gonna be less fields afterwards than there are right now? And I think there's a conception that there are going to be. And that there's.
At the Phasio or in total?
at the phase. And then, and then also how often it would be affected. It would be one season of soccer and.
How many seasons off, where do I park, what
Those types
happens?
of things, I just think those are the discussions that should take place to help everyone. Whether they're for it or against it, make an informed decision.
I'm just asking
Right.
because I feel that's hugely important, because I feel there's a lot here to make a decision on. From money to scale to height to views to parking to everything has been presented. So what's the missing piece? Because I also feel we're talking about the same people that are impacted by both of these. A lot of the same people that are concerned about the rec fields and the play fields and the afternoon activities and how high school students use it are the same people that I think are clamoring for a new Pollard and a new Mitchell. You know, I've lived here 30 years and they said Mitchell would be renovated the year I moved here. It's still not renovated. And there's still people moving in. The school committee woman said she was appalled at Mitchell School. We're all looking for the same thing, which is a betterment of our town and our educational facilities and our fields, and we should be able to get people on the same page. In my mind. So if there's like, I don't know, Hank, I think people should give you ideas about what they think is missing in the information that we should clarify
I
for
mean,
the
if
25th, because I feel like.
if you have your list and can send that to me, John, if I've written down what I've heard. And you're right, it's very difficult for the design team to go from 0 to 120 miles an hour.
Because then you're stuck. That's the other issue.
Yeah.
Like, once it's like the cost. Once you say the auditorium's $10 million or the view from. DPW looks like this, or the view from my backyard looks like that. It's in the public realm and you're stuck with it forever. So we'll worry of that.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of flyovers and so on and so forth are not easy to do. Usually wouldn't come until schematic design,
But I think the 25th would be enough. Identifying that, but that's why I'm.
Yeah.
Question. Somehow structure this meeting, but I think the end of the day, we're never gonna get the inputs for it. That's gonna.
But aren't we saying the 25th is the voting time zone?
I think so.
I think the intention is to try and see if they can narrow it down. But what I heard in the chairs meeting is that the goal is to see if they can knock some stuff out, but it may not happen. I'm not sure it happens. I do think that there's a lot of variations in people's desires, points and contexts that we have to storm before we can norm. That's the bottom line. I mean, that's really what's going on here is until you storm it, you ain't gonna get any kind of normalization. It's just my personal opinion.
I think just final thought, I want to understand more about Park and Rec's thinking, what the commission's thinking and why. What the impacts on their operations, why they're making this definitive decision. I want to just understand why the negative impacts. And I think that's something that hopefully will come out in the meeting. It will help me understand what their issues are and whether I agree with them or not. So.
Yeah, I mean, they have expressed some of that. If we can get Jim Healy to come in and say that he agrees to turning the field that's named after him to parking. They brought up the issue of named fields as a concern as well.
All right, well, at this point, I really do need to move on to the rest of our agenda soon, so we're gonna just do a couple of housekeeping items first for the SBC before we wrap up or adjourn that meeting. And the first is we have a couple of invoices and a change order we'd like to take up at this time. So the first item is a change order for the Pollard Middle School renovation project from HMFH Architects, that's PSS number 3 for traffic analysis services in the amount of $41,140, 41,140.00 from the architect's budget. The chair will so move. Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Bob. A discussion on the motion?
Yeah,
When-
if the traffic analysis occurred.
No,
When, about when will this occur? Is this just this is just a pocket to save the money aside to start that?
No, it's imminent, like, we would like to start it
Is that
right at the beginning of October.
Any other questions or comments?
Is that Park City, both Paris Avenue and Devon Avenue?
Very good. All right, roll call vote of the voting members of the SBC. Stuart Chandler?
Aye.
Lynn Denninger?
Aye.
Bob Dermody?
Aye.
George Kent?
Aye.
Erwin Silverstein?
Aye.
Elisa Scattrud?
Aye. Nice try.
And Timothy, you know.
Aye.
Okay, and the chair votes aye. Thank you. That takes care of the change order. There are a couple of sets of invoices. One is, or actually two invoices from HMFH Architects, and we'll vote them, we'll outline them separately and vote them together. The first is for August 2025 design services in the amount of $92,857.14 coming out of the architect's budget. And the second is also from HMFH Architects for August 2025 design services consultants in the amount of $17,484.42 for a grand total of $110,341.56. The chair will so move. Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Bob. Discussion or? All right, give it to Bob. Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other
Richard?
questions or? Yes, go ahead, Erwin. Go ahead. Thank you.
Just briefly, can you just briefly describe what the consultants did?
Sure, okay. Would like to feel.
well, there was a 2,000-page PDP that was completed and submitted to the MSBA. And all of the writing and work associated with that. And all of our August meetings, multiple other meetings with at least 5 other meetings and the public meetings. So it was a very busy August.
No, I understand that, but I thought it was about sub-consultant work.
Oh,
The second invoice.
second invoice, yes. So some of that was with your MEP engineers, the cost estimating cost estimator.
We talking about basic services or?
No, the
Things beyond,
The
consultant.
second invoice.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm not.
We were talking about the other invoice.
yeah, this,
What's in the second one?
it included phase 1 environmental. Find it. I mean, that was a large portion of it.
Yeah, most of it's the phase.
Okay. I just wanted to differentiate between the architect design services and what was sub-consulting to that.
Okay, I think it was cost estimating and
Okay.
environmental phase 1.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote, and again, we're voting the aggregate amount for the 2 invoices. Stuart Chandler?
Aye.
Lynn Denninger? Bob Dermody?
Aye.
George Kent?
Aye.
Erwin Silverstein?
Aye.
Elisa Scottrade?
Aye.
And Tamara Biba?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. And we have one final invoice from Cartoon, that's with a K, Cartoon EDU. That's for multi-pillar video services. Multi-pillar video services. And that's in the amount of $3,180 even out of the miscellaneous budget. The chair will move the PBC approve that invoice, payment for that invoice. Is there a second on that motion? Thank you, Bob. Discussion on the motion.
Is that the video that we saw Dan made?
Yes,
Shot
and
that video?
There's four of them, yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
And so those will be going up on the website soon.
Mhm.
Good, I think it was helpful.
Yeah. And shown at the back to school night.
Good. Terrific. Okay, great. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote among the voting members. Stuart Chandler,
Aye.
Ellen Denninger, Bob Dermody,
Aye.
George Kent,
Aye.
Erwin Silverstein,
Aye.
Lisa Scattru,
Aye.
Kamala Bibo,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. One other housekeeping item before we adjourn. In reviewing the town clerks and town council's recommendations regarding the constitution of this committee. We are now officially a school building committee for the Pollard project, which is a separate and distinct meeting, although we are running concurrently the PBC meeting with the SBC meeting. It is recommended that we formally move and approve the appointment of the chair, as this is the first meeting of that committee of the SBC formally. So I'm going to ask if there's a motion to nominate a chair for the SBC going forward. And I'll ask anyone if they'd like to make that motion.
I move that Richard Crane be chair.
What?
The school building committee.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. You get a discussion on that motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart Chandler,
Aye.
Lynn Denninger,
Aye.
Bob Dermody,
Aye.
George Kent,
Aye.
Erwin Silverstein,
Aye.
Lisa Scattru,
Aye.
Tamara Bibo,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay,
Congratulations.
thank you very much. Finally, we can now take a motion to adjourn the SBC, and at which point we will continue with the PBBC meeting and the next item on the agenda for that committee. So I'm going to ask if there's a motion to adjourn the
Move to
SBC.
adjourn SBC.
Thank you, George. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Voting members, Stuart Chandler, Lynn Denninger,
Aye.
Bob Dermody,
Aye.
George Kent,
Aye.
Erwin Silverstein,
Aye.
Lisa Scattru,
Aye.
Tamara Bibo,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you. The SBC stands adjourned. I now call back to order the PBC. Even though we
Thank
never.
you.
Moderator. The. I've always wanted to do that, gavel one, getting that whole thing. Thank you all. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you all. Great job.
Thanks.
I'm gonna get gavel or just the
Okay. All right. So.
Will you join us, please?
Okay, the next item for business is the Center at the Heights project.
And
Oh, nice to finally meet you in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is.
Sure.
Good, yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
yes, Tim, would you care to join us?
At the big table?
Please.
Did I present?
Can you?
Think so.
That would be great.
I'm just gonna sign the Zoom.
I'm gonna try to do the same.
Make sure you mute yourself.
Yeah.
I think so. Most of the time I see you guys on Zoom.
Yeah, you.
We've not met in real life. Yeah, that's me.
Anyone else? Not that Tim?
Tim, Bob. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And I think everyone has met Jeremy online
Briefly. online.
briefly.
Yes, a few months ago.
But we could go around and introduce are you?
I think I know, yeah.
Yes.
Acquainted with it,
So-
at the very least.
Jeremy also led the team with at the HSA on the repairs to the Hillside School, temporary repairs prior to the occupancy by school admin.
We can have any luck here.
New joining, I might be able to do it myself. Here, I can pull it.
Yeah.
I have it too, it's back up, okay.
Okay.
And volume and well. You. There we go. Inbox. Okay.
Okay, I think you saw this 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, so I can go through this first part pretty quick and kind of get to the update, but. Just to remind everybody, so the renovation project is kind of split into 3 separate pieces, and we're looking at how that's gonna be phased, or will be phased. We're working on that, so the first will be a vestibule at the rear side, so if you're looking at the left-hand side, it says vestibule. Adding a vestibule there, that'll lead into the multi-purpose room, the parking lot is on that side, and from what we hear, a lot of people enter the building through that door anyways, so. We give that a bit of an airlock, save some heating, air conditioning, and just make it a little safer, so. Put a vestibule back there. The second piece is a renovation of the kitchen. Currently, it's more of a residential kitchen, warming kitchen, and the idea is to make it into a more of a commercial kitchen. For use of the staff as well as some of the traveling meals, that's currently of the hospital. And the third piece is the fitness, exercise and game room. So the current game room, looking to move to the second floor. The current fitness room will move into the old game room. The old exercise room will move into the old fitness room. So it's kind of a 3-way swap there. With some minor renovations, and the biggest piece will be in the second floor, with taking a wall down between 2 rooms to make one larger room. Adding some more equipment in the fitness room and making the one large area for the exercise. So that's kind of the overview of what each is gonna entail. We can go to the next slide. This to show you the rear elevation off the parking lot. That red dash line is where the vestibule is gonna be going. So you can see that existing door that leads in the multipurpose room. The next slide, and this is so left to right, demolition plan, new plan, roof plan, and parking lot plan, just show you. Some of the details. We'll be taking out part of the parking lot, putting in new foundations, a new 1-story vestibule with a roof. Roof will have a bit of an overhang on the upper side, the northern side, to protect that door, as that door is more than likely gonna be the main one that'll be used when people are kind of coming out of the handicap parking spaces, which you can see are just to the north of that vestibule.
And there may be restriping and relocation of some of the existing handicap spaces. But that'll be studied in more detail.
More than what exists now.
Yeah, well, so we'll be adding 2, you can see the 2 are in red above the vestibule. We'll be adding 2 parking spaces in 1 aisle between them. And you can see there's currently 3 down at the lower right-hand side of the screen. So we'll be adding at least 2 more.
And there were already 2 added at the front Hillside Avenue side of the building. When the town leased all those parking spaces along that front edge to increase the total amount of parking, but also to enable the construction that Barry is doing on the generator And that'll be on the Keolis side of the parking lot. And we'll try to coordinate that construction with this construction.
Your next slide. A few elevations and a kind of 3D view of what this is gonna look like. So the idea is to use the same materials currently existing, so look, it doesn't look like it's, just something that's tacked on. It'll look like it's part of the building. As best as we can. The next. This is the kitchen, so on the left-hand side is the existing and demo plan, what we're taking out, and then the right-hand side is the new plan. So most of all of the existing appliances will be removed and replaced with new. We'll have a new, so if we're looking at the kitchen area, on the left-hand side, we'll have a new oven, new range, new griddle. The upper portion will be a new prep area, prep tables in the middle. The right-hand side will be a new washing station. The bottom elevation will stay pretty much as is. There's a warming center there, and that's where this food will be served in the multi-purpose room. In the back, where the current pantry is, will be a new walk-in freezer cooler, and then the current break room will be turned into a new pantry area. And these are elevations that show what's gonna be removed. So anything that's dashed is gonna be removed. So as you can see, along a good portion of the existing cabinets and appliances are gonna be removed and replaced with new prep stations, storage areas, appliances. So then after that, it'll be fully commercial kitchen. And this, I think this is new. I don't think we showed this last time, but added to the project is looking at that existing break room that's gonna be turned into a pantry. They're looking for a new area to put a small kitchenette and kind of another room you can use as a break room. So these are three options here. This is the conference room. On the second floor, we have two options here. This first one puts it at the back corner there, so it's a small kitchenette. They'll have an under counter fridge, a microwave, and a sink, and we're gonna connect to the existing plumbing of the men's bathroom, which is at the top of the plan there. So, and drainage will go down through the ceiling below in the room and then connect to the bathroom below. So this is the second option showing at the other side. There's a little bit of a nook there where there are currently couple cabinets for storage. So when you take those out, put the kitchenette there, I guess the idea is that when this is not being used as a conference room, you can prepare lunches and eat there. And then the third option is to use the existing sink and countertop in the veterans office and add a refrigerator in there. So not a lot of renovation here, but currently the counter is a little too low, as the countertop and the apron is a little too low to get an under counter fridge in there. So it may require some modification of the existing countertop, or perhaps a new countertop that's raised a little bit to make that happen.
The space requirements for the break room, is that large enough, that space?
The space is large enough, yeah. I know we were told that office gets a lot of use throughout the day, so I think it's up for discussion which option is the best.
So what the committee saw last time was an option in the basement.
Right.
And that was perhaps still in consideration, but sending staff down to the basement to a windowless room is not necessarily the preferred option, and might not be used very much. But all of these options have impact on other programs. And so we're really leaving it up to, and we did have a discussion with the Council on Aging. Thank you for coming and staying with us.
Okay.
And it how those rooms are programmed, I mean, in order to use it mainly as a break room, in, for instance, the veterans, if use might need to go migrate back to town hall where it was previously, and none of that has been discussed, and it was moved down here specifically, so it'd be combined with council on aging. So, Tim, I don't know if you want to, or Colleen, if you want to illuminate us.
I do have my meeting with the town manager tomorrow, so I haven't sort of gone back to the, hey, when we said we had space with veterans agent, actually, no. I'm not sure that will be a popular discussion, so I'm not thinking that's an answer we rely on.
Okay.
I do think that we have some. I want to be cognizant of the challenges we have and the way that the mental health staff has grown at the Center at the Heights. If we were rebuilding the building, we would have a lot more sort of small private offices where social worker could work one-on-one with the senior with privacy. We don't have that in the current setup, unfortunately. So they do take advantage of the veteran/nurse's office. They take advantage of the conference room. We may have to be a little bit more creative in terms of scheduling, alternate schedules. Maybe one of the social workers is on a slightly early schedule, one's on a slightly later schedule, so there's less overlap. I think it really is sort of a matter of constraints. We don't really have other space in the building to put them unless we want to go into the basement, and the cost is higher there.
Tim, just one question. I'm just curious, the space that the Board of Health vacated in Town Hall, what is that being used for now? Is anything?
So as I understand it, town council is specifically there, as well as, I don't know, who was,
It's a suite now.
oh, the Board of Health, the one the Board of Health vacated, or the veterans agent?
No, the health department
Oh,
vacated when they
so
moved to Rosemary.
So Chris Coleman's office was down on the chapel side of town hall. Then Katie King's former office is on the Highland side. The conference room that was in the health department suite was moved down to the end to sort of take the place of Chris's office, but basically, yes, the deputy town manager, the economic development person, but that's vacant right now, the director of communications and community engagement. One or two of the finance staff, Wendy, Fung, I think that would be it. I don't know, am I missing anybody?
No, that's the whole, that strip along that wall.
Yeah.
On the top floor, same level as Powers Hall.
They do have a nice little chairs and like a table with some magazines that we didn't have when you were there.
Is the IT department still occupying
The basement,
basement?
I think a lot of their stuff is there. I don't know if some of their people.
They still own it per se, but Mark's never, they're not, there's only one person that usually sits over there, or two of the techs will sit over there.
I guess I'm not expecting, and I'll talk to Katie tomorrow morning in my normal meeting with her, but I'm not expecting the space that was the veterans office that was sort of shared. Which is sort of right across from the side entrance to the select board chambers, next to the retirement office. I'm not expecting to get that back.
Is it the same group that's over at Memorial Park? There's a veterans office that was built at Memorial Park. Is that a completely different?
I don't think they've ever done hours at Memorial Park.
That's a space that's never been occupied by anybody for as long as Memorial Park's been open. There's just some boxes in there and a desk.
They have their meetings there. That's about
The
it.
trustees.
Trustees of the park.
Yeah, the trustees have meeting space, but there's an office specifically that says Veterans Affairs.
I don't think.
That's never been occupied. It's an empty
To
office.
me, okay,
Interesting.
I'd be happy to put in dibs. You can only heard it here first.
You can still heard it from us.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that the difficulty is then seniors
Yep.
getting from one place to another, plus that building at Memorial Park is not occupied most of the time.
Yeah. As I think folks know, it's undercounting it to say the super majority. Needham has very few, 9/11 and after veterans. Almost all of the Needham's veterans are Korea, Vietnam, and the first Gulf War. So all are in the, or coming into the sort of senior category. It makes a lot of sense to have the veterans agent there. It's just, I'd like a little more square footage effective.
What's on the other side? What's east, plan east of that office?
That has well, there's a facility closet on the top left.
To the right,
Right,
in the full floor plan, what's to the?
the director's office. So.
It's the art room.
Well, it said directly east of the veterans office. So veterans office, the art room's right there. There's two sort of workstations, including where the admin sits. This is the director's office, and this is the library. So the art room has a sink, for example. That's why there's water on that wall.
And the existing space is off the kitchen here,
Yeah.
but it's underneath the stairs, so it is compromised a little bit, in terms of ceiling. Floor ceiling.
It is not a particularly well accessed break room. I think it's just challenging to not have any sort of space that's that big.
Oh, I was past that, I was trying to figure out how to get even more one-on-one space out of it. But.
Okay.
Space that's available is the gift shop. It's just. If I suggest that and it goes forward, town's gonna find me at the bottom of the Charles River.
If we.
There's always the deck.
There's a gift shop?
There's a gift shop.
You know,
Right behind the front desk.
Says you walk in on the left from the front door.
I've never been in it.
Come
Is it a
visit.
gift shop or the building?
The building, I've never been in the building. We'd be happy to give you a tour. It just feels, just feels like that's a
General
pressing
question.
issue that.
Ask a general
Yeah,
question.
sure. George,
Programmatically, Tim, adding this new kitchen, making it a commercial kitchen, what does that do programmatically for you? That you can't do without the kitchen? I'm just curious.
So, I'm looking in the same way that we are trying to, move from sort of a static function of a computer room that's, has desks and desktop computers, to more of a multi-function sense. This kitchen would preserve options for us. So we could still do a cooking demonstration there. It's just we could also actually prepare meals at volume. So that would, for example, in, the federal budget proposal, which obviously still has a long way to go through the processes. Funding is proposed to be reduced to the congregate lunch program that supports lunch at CAF. I think this board knows that the Board of Health and the town manager worked with the hospital, and the hospital indicated they wanted the traveling needs program to leave the hospital. So it's, for me, it's sort of trying to cover all bases and be ready for when there is no more state funding for a congregate lunch program, or the hospital really does say, you've got to go, no ifs, ands, or buts.
And that hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
They threatened.
They actually sent a letter saying you have to leave, and then our former state rep and a few other people
Listed there.
had a little stuff.
But it will allow you the option to do a kind of a Meals on Wheels program.
Yep.
Provide meals that are something that you might want to do in the future, but you can't do now.
Yeah, I mean, long term, I am concerned significantly about food insecurity, especially amongst fixed income seniors. I think. My grandparents lived in town, all of my aunts and uncles lived in town, and, Needham was a very different community when, people who were teachers moved in and then were living on a fixed income, people who were librarians. Taxes still go up. The pension you're getting doesn't. We have lots of anecdotal information, and we're trying to get better hard data on the challenges that are facing seniors, but anecdotally, what our social workers and aging tell us is that there's a lot of seniors who are stretched. That the cost of prescriptions, the cost of their food is a concern for them, making it to be.
So in order to save money, they skip a meal and they eat as healthy as they should with seven.
Or we have continental breakfast, they take some things to go as well.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine, we don't have any problem with that. I just would like to give them healthier food than an extra bagel stuffed in their pocket.
Yeah. I think that's a good forward-looking approach, because I think there are more seniors in town that probably could use that than people think they are.
We move on?
Yes, and this is part 3, so these pictures are showing you the existing fitness room, which is well used. It's crowded as far as the amount of machinery they have, the people that use it, and they're looking to expand, so we're gonna move from this room. This is the existing game room, which compared to the last picture, you can see it's a little less crowded, a little less used, but I believe people use both the pool tables most of the day, most of the week. So the existing equipment here is gonna move upstairs, fitness equipment's gonna move into this room. And then the old fitness room will become the exercise room. So that'll be for, you know, fitness, yoga classes, Zumba, etc. You know, larger flexible space.
So compared to the feasibility stage, at feasibility, we were just looking at swapping 2 rooms and moving the game room into where the old fitness room was and vice versa. Putting the fitness room here increases it by about 300 square feet. And would enable a bit more space between the exercise equipment as well as the addition of a few more pieces of equipment. The dance studio or the exercise room, there is currently one that is upstairs. And so that function would move downstairs. But the major construction would be in where the new game room is. I'll show you that next. It's a detail of those 2.
Yeah.
Very good.
And it is an added cost to not just do the simple swap. We think there are benefits programmatically, and we think there are benefits in terms of sequentially doing the project such that we could have the fitness room still functioning while the game room is constructed. The fitness equipment could go across the hall, then we could get the exercise room together. Like, even though it does add, we think it is programmatically beneficial.
So upstairs on the left-hand side is the existing plan, so we'd be taking down a wall between the existing computer room and program space. So those computers would be moved, I think, to mobile carts and laptops. I think that might still be up for.
And that would be, those computers are decade old.
They're very old. IT has already ordered a series of Chromebooks and some laptops. We're getting a secondhand cart from the schools that they use. This computer labs aren't necessarily really a thing in the schools either. So I think that is a small benefit, but it is actually a benefit of taking a room that was locked into a particular function, which is very well subscribed during open enrollment for Medicare and for AARP tax counseling. But then sits fallow for 6+ months of the year.
Right. Yeah, I think that kind of says it all, and then, you know, the pool tables, ping pong table will be moved upstairs, and there'll be plenty of room for that. This just shows the work we'll have to do for the RCP, so in one of the rooms, the existing ceiling tiles will come down, we'll kind of extend the other room, you know, blend it all together to make it look like it's just one large room, so we're reusing pieces of the existing, reusing some tiles, putting up a new grid, but
And reusing the lights. at the
Reusing some
pool
light,
table.
yeah, the two pool table lights and adding some additional lighting to the room. Yeah. And so this is the biggest, the new part you haven't seen yet. We got the initial cost estimate on the SD set. And so we have it by each individual piece in the total. The grand total we're looking at right now is $1,637.
And that's for construction only. And so there has been some scope creep, some cost increase along with that scope creep. And we're still working out the overall budget and exactly how much contingency we want to carry within the project.
Actually, how much was the budget increase over before?
It would be the equivalent amount, it'd be somewhere around $80,000. I did have a separate budget sheet that's part of your handout.
It's that. It's not gonna be here.
Yes,
1.58,
yeah,
1.58 million, was that?
yeah.
The construction goes up about 57,000. But there are some other pieces, as Hank mentioned, in the I'll just call it the all-in budget. This is construction only, it's about $57,000 higher. And as you can see, this is with a 10% contingency.
And we would need to look at that budgeting moving forward. I think there's time to get the DD estimates in. Like if we're done with this slide show, I can try to pull this up.
Yeah.
We have for comments on the scope change.
Yes.
I think it's very positive. I think making the changes you've talked about, even though they weren't what we anticipated, this makes much more sense.
Mhm.
This is where the development, I think, has really got us thinking about what it should do. So from that point of view, I would certainly argue for additional funding, whatever the consequences of that.
Okay.
Hank, you want me to bring up the all-in?
Yeah, now this was looking ahead at the schedule. So we, in theory, by the end of the year, would be getting pretty close to construction documents and get an 80% construction cost estimate. So by that point, we'd have a better idea as to what those costs will be, but I think they were pretty thorough. And we did get two estimators and we did go through reconciliation. Let me get rid of this one. Stop this sharing. And
Yes. Especially on 10, really helps explain it.
Wasn't on providing service, you are.
Very cool.
Budget estimate is a budget estimate. Sometimes should realize you ain't living in there are better ways to do things and it's gonna cost them.
I was hoping he was gonna stay here, but there is Zoom video evidence of John Conley saying, make sure you're asking for all that you need on this project now. So I consider that approval to just add a couple zeros.
Within reason.
let me reduce this, go back to
John
Zoom.
speaks, John, but
Do you need, Hank, do you need that budget?
I think I got it.
I won't speak for John, but I think logically he would agree with what I said. It makes sense.
Yeah, I may be slightly nonchalant about it, but we didn't add things really. tried to be judicious.
What's that?
We tried to be judicious. We didn't add.
So, this is a worksheet you have hard copy of, or when, I don't think I emailed this to you yet. I will right after the meeting.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Going through the kitchen design, it's marginal or maybe required as to whether we need to replace the kitchen hood.
I talked to our consultant again today, and it is required, if
It
we
is.
wanna switch, if we wanna have the new ovens, the new griddles, and that,
It would be required, okay.
it's a little too small front to back. Is the
Got it.
problem, so it won't catch all the vapors and steam and all that.
And we want that to be fully operational, so that adds about another 20,000 to the construction budget. And then the break room that we talked about previously would be about another 30,000. And I think that's a very rough budget that was based upon the basement option. So if one of the other options were selected, it might be slightly less than that. That gives you a total hard cost of a little over 1.5, a 10% construction contingency. Often what's built into this is 10% construction contingency and then a 5% owner's contingency at the very bottom. Those, as we move forward, might be able to be reduced, but I don't recommend going less than that at this point. The FF&E, the major kitchen appliances are already built into the construction budget, but this would be any additional shelving units, any upgraded pots, pans, that kind of stuff. And then the IT and audiovisual would be adding in new wall-mounted TVs in those various spaces. Giving us about 1.75 million with those IT and FF&E components. Then the various soft costs, A&E, testing and inspection, moving, we're carrying 30,000 for moving. That may be, I don't know, Ken, those are pretty heavy, those pool tables.
Yes, they are, but compared to some of the previous moving quotes we had for moving whole buildings, this might be a little high, but
Yeah.
given the weight and the fact that you're going upstairs and the pool tables won't fit in the elevator, yeah.
They would need to be totally dismantled and then reassembled.
Correct.
And then project management, which also includes the cost of our cost estimating. And then bidding, we're carrying 15,000 for borrowing costs, giving us a total of just over 2 million prior to adding the owner's contingency. And then that brings us to a total cost of about 2.18 million. Of that, there's already appropriated 345,000. That was for the design services. And so our total feasibility budget was 2.1 million, so that's about an $80,000 difference. And I wouldn't recommend reducing any of those contingencies at this point, but we may be able to look into that as we move forward. Any questions about this?
What's borrowing costs?
We have to pay for bond counsel. For borrowing funds.
Sometimes we're charged for it and sometimes we're not.
It usually comes in less than what Dave tells us to carry, but, and so those kinds of things can be recouped at the end if need be. But I'd rather, budget for that additional 80,000. If we have to talk to town manager. If you have to talk to town manager.
I think squeeze an extra 80,000, I really should just hang out my hat.
Yeah.
Hank, the one question I had was, given what we talked about the kitchen timeline for construction being 6 months and being very hard to sort of move off of that, timeline, and the impact that would make on current food service operations. Would you want to have any additional contingency, or is there any, incentive for a quicker construction that we would want to try to build in? Not knowing what that would actually cost. But I guess I just want to ask the question.
It's probably gonna be a function of the lead time for that equipment.
Yeah.
It's. That often is very strict. In terms of that lead time, that controls the schedule, but it's possible that we could do it faster.
But if we signed a contract July 1, 2026, they order the thing, but we don't actually do the construction until the next year.
Okay,
Is it possible to get it done in less than 6 months, starting in, June or July 27?
It is, and again, I defer to the contractor at the contract signing, but but that would probably require, double shifting or 10-hour days, 12-hour days, whatever. And because these, you get file sub bids and all involved, that is a hefty price premium on an hourly rate.
So that might not be worth it. It's worth asking a question.
It is, and we'll see what it's like when we get to that point in time. I'm not discounting it completely, but it would be a hefty markup.
I mean, for example, on the library project, they're starting now after the summer.
Yeah.
But they're not expected to finish until February.
Yeah.
And we won't be moving the furniture in until March.
Yeah.
And that doesn't involve any kitchen or water work at all.
Right. No, I totally get that. I think we should go without a fitness room for a month potentially, although I'm gonna talk to the board about that. I think it's much more complicated to go without some type of food service program. So the shorter.
Tim, when we spoke, wasn't the idea was if we could cram it in a summer or get most of it done in a summer, that the schools might be able to pick up some of that food service.
I think they could. I guess the question is, if it is a 6-month project, the schools can probably only help for,
for three at the most.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I don't think we want to send you over to Hillside.
Well, you won't be able to cook anything over at Hillside unless you're doing it in the microwave.
I'll take it.
There's a bunch of copies over there in that room.
Yeah, right.
We can, I guess we can take a stab at that. I don't know if Tower Construction would want to venture an opinion.
I'll ask her. I can see if Crystal from O'Connor could help me out too.
Yeah.
When would we be expecting to get bids on this?
We would be expecting to get bids prior to annual town meeting on the current schedule.
Okay,
And
so we would know this number pretty accurately by town meeting.
right. If we were going to try to consolidate it into one summer, I think there's two sides to that. One is the delay in construction could increase the cost just because of cost escalation. And then there would be overtime costs associated with that as well. To try to squeeze 6 months of work into 3 months.
Yeah. And especially with metal work on this job, it's probably not gonna come from the US. It's not gonna come from elsewhere.
Yeah, we don't think that there's any structural work, but all the stainless steel work in the kitchen would probably be imported.
So you don't know the ballpark price yet.
Well, we do have a pretty good estimate from the kitchen consultant.
Yes.
And I think his numbers project out to time of
Did it?
construction.
But there's risk associated with that, is my point.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Is there anything else that you need from us this evening other than
The voting item.
voting item, sorry?
I think that's a,
Okay.
we'll ask them to proceed into DD and keep moving forward. And Tim, you'll look into the options for the
Yep.
for the staff break room.
Yep.
Okay. We have one invoice for the Center at the Heights project. And that is the August 2025 services for BH+A Architects. That's the amount of $21,500 even out of the architect's budget. Is there a second on that motion? Second. Thank you, Bob. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart? Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. And I believe that's the only invoice we have for Saturday
this.
Heights.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, very good. I think we're all set, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you all. Okay. Next item for business, and apologize to everyone for the lateness of the evening hour, but we got a little bogged down with Pollard. Apologies. But welcome, Rob. Night.
Hello,
Okay,
how are you?
very well, very good, thanks. A little tired, but good. Hey, Rob, other Rob, how are you? Okay, so I don't know who wanted to, Ken, did you want to speak to?
All I've got here, I think we might have an invoice or two, and then I think there's a PSS too. Just a quick update. The demo is approximately 90% complete. It's gone very well. We've been able to manage the process with the early hours, starting at 6 o'clock, avoiding the traffic in and out that comes in at 9 when the library opens. So we've had good luck with that. They've already started laying some wall track and trying to finish closing off the above the temporary wall for the dust control. They've got negative air machines in there. They're not quite up to snuff because we're got open above the wall, so it's not easy to clear the area, but it is working to some extent, and I can tell because you can feel the door slam to some extent when when you open it. So and we're moving like into the some of the HVAC work, and that's about it. Any questions, be happy to entertain them, or we can move into the voting items.
Any questions from the committee?
None here.
Okay, very good. All right, we will then proceed to the voting items, and I have one invoice. And that is requisition number one from Tower Construction. That's for services through August 2025. That's in the amount of $87,032.35, and that's 87,032.35. That's on the general contractor's budget. The chair will so move. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Okay, Rob P.
Aye.
And Rob M.
Aye.
Thank you, and the chair votes aye. Okay, and I believe that's the only item we have for.
That is, Ken, I think we approved the.
Did we do the PSS the last time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
We're all set here.
that's it.
Great, okay. Well, apologize again for the lateness of the hour, but we'll try to make amends another time. But thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks.
Okay, take care now. All right. We've already taken care of the DPW invoices, I believe.
And the auditorium upgrade.
And the auditorium upgrade, yeah. So the only thing left is, we wanted to just note, future meetings and agenda, and we've sort of talked about that in terms of the 9/25 meeting coming up next, the summit. And then, we have our October and November schedule, et cetera, at the bottom of your agenda. I don't have any other business before the PBC. I would just know, I want to thank everyone for paying a visit to the town clerk's office and getting sworn in. Again, this was something that came as a surprise to all of us, but I'm glad we got it done, and thank you very much for that. And so we're back in business, and we're all set there. That's good.
Yeah, and we will be committee members do have terms. Technically, their 3-year terms are supposed to be rotating, but the you remain on the committee until a replacement is selected. But there's an appointing authority that includes the town moderator, the chair of the select board, the chair of
Library.
And Park and Rec.
Library.
Park and Rec and library, and town manager. And getting that group together is not always easy. So at the last time, I guess, Bob, when you were appointed through that committee, some of the durations of the committee members were extended. And they really need to do that kind of review every year in order to, so we're gonna try to get into that rhythm again. And hopefully none of you will everyone will indicate that you want to continue.
I don't know how you guys do this.
Your volunteer time is greatly appreciated by everybody in the town.
Even though we do battle half the time.
And when you say the word committee, you mean the PPPC, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Now, technically, according to the bylaws, every project has a project committee because that project committee includes 2 user representatives. The town clerk saw the school building committee as unique because it has both voting and non-voting members.
Yeah.
Hence the need for the swearing in, and hence the need for swearing in not only of the voting members, but also the non-voting members.
Wasn't that commitment made to MSBA? That really so drives that.
Yes, and in prior MSBA projects, we didn't go through that with the former town clerk.
There are other MSBA projects you never said.
Correct. It's change in some people in town hall.
You still got the thing.
Yeah, school's still gonna stay open, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, thank you all for the overtime tonight. Very much appreciated, and it was.
We have time and a half, right?
All right. Yeah, add that to your zero pay, that's right. Exactly. Okay, so I think on that note, if there's nothing else before the committee, I will take a motion to adjourn the PBBC. Oh, Erwin, go ahead.
I don't want to revisit the discussion of the 25th, but could we have something prepared that gives us a little bit of detail on what is going to happen during that meeting? Who's going to speak, about what? I just hate to go into that meeting with no sense of how it's going to unfold.
Yeah. Yep.
Point well taken, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I will take a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else on the that the committee has to raise. Someone to make that motion?
Bob,
Okay.
We're falling asleep on that.
Just want to give someone else a chance.
Well, last time I did that, you gave me
Is
all
it-
three.
Is this?
That's what-
Motion made, is there a second?
I'm gonna apologize.
Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you.
All in favor, aye.
Any discussion, hearing none, roll call vote, Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
right?
Bob,
Aye.
George,
I.
Erwin.
hi,
And thank you, and the chair votes aye, thank you, we
Well
stand
done,
adjourned,
Chair.
thank you very much.
thank you, bye. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Right.
And this is a school night.